Hey guys, Chris here. Welcome to episode 1 in how to solve the Rubik's Cube. This tutorial is aimed at anyone who has never solved a cube or maybe wants a little bit of a refresher. In this episode, I will be teaching you the notation, or in algorithms, how to turn the cube. This is a very simple video, but it's really an important topic that you must learn in order to solve the Rubik's Cube. The first step to learning notation is learning about the centers. On a Rubik's Cube, the centers never move. They only have one sticker, and no matter how you move them, they never move in relation to each other. So red will always be opposite of orange. You can mess around with your cube and see if you can make them non-opposite, but it is impossible. The centers move together, and whenever the cube is solved, it will always be white on top, in relation to orange, and then in relation to green. And if you flip the cube over, it'll always be like this. There's no way to cycle these three to make it a different color cycle. So using this information, what we can do is we can learn about the turning on the cube. For the purposes of this video, I will be holding white on top and blue towards me. But if you guys want to hold it differently, you can do that anyway. Now, the first turn I will be teaching you is a right move. When you hold the cube towards you with the center, blue center facing you, and the white center on top, for my purposes, it doesn't really matter which one you use. If you turn the right away from yourself, that is called an R move, and it is represented by a capital R. Another way to look at it is by slightly tilting the cube to the right when you're turning and imagining a clock. Now, time starts at 12, and it moves around clockwise, like this. So when you're turning the cube, you would turn it like that, like a clock. That would be an R move. The next move is the R prime move. The R prime move is the exact same as an R move, thinking about it as you're moving the same group of pieces, but you're moving it towards yourself. The other way to think about this would be it is counterclockwise as you move this piece. This move is represented by a capital R and an apostrophe. It is pronounced as either R inverse or R prime. As you can see, as I'm turning it, the R face is coming towards myself and moving in a counterclockwise direction. The next face is the U face. This move is called up, and it also moves in a clockwise direction. So, by holding blue in front of you and white on top, we can now see that this group of pieces right here is the up layer. No matter how you move it, when blue's facing you, when's white here, this is the up layer. Now, if I were to rotate the cube, this becomes the up layer. It doesn't matter the colors, it matters where it is in relation to the side facing you. You don't need to memorize any colors for this, you just need to look and see that this is on top. To do a U move or an up move, you're going to take your finger and you're going to flick it like that. That's the easiest thing to do. As you can see, as the cube moves, it moves in a clockwise direction in relation to the side you're looking at. So if I were looking here, this isn't going clockwise, but if you look at the top, the up face, it's going clockwise. So these are U moves. The next move is the U prime. To do U prime, you take the U face and you move it counterclockwise, or sort of around to the left. This would be a U prime move. And again, again, and again. If you're having trouble with remembering which one is up and which one is up inverse, an easy way to think about it is with the up move, you place your index finger on the top right and you flick with your right finger. And for the up inverse move, you actually use your left finger. So if you see up inverse in an algorithm, if it's easier for you to think, oh, left hand, maybe that'll help you out more. But I think it is also easy to just look at the face and think about it as a clock. You'll get more used to these moves as time goes on, and you'll get very comfortable with them and be able to execute algorithms very quickly. The next few moves are very self-explanatory, so I will go in depth with them a little less than I did with U and R. The next move is the front move, represented by an F. The way you do the front move is by holding a face towards yourself and one on top, as you have been in earlier moves, and using this face that is towards you. As you can see, these 9 pieces are moving together and they are the closest pieces to me. This is called an F turn. You take your finger and you just flick it down. It is also similar to the U move where you flick with your right hand and you use your left hand to do up inverse. For the front move, if you think about it as the top right and you use your right hand to flick down, and you can use your left hand to do a front inverse. You can also look at the front of the cube and think about a clock. This is a clockwise movement. That means that is a front move. This is a counterclockwise movement, meaning that you do a front inverse move. The next face is the L face, or the left face. It works just like the R face, except the moves are in separate directions. As you can see, on the R face, you move it away from yourself, and you move it towards yourself for a right inverse. Using the L face, for an L move, you move the face towards yourself for an L, and L prime is away from yourself. You can also look at the face as a clock. Looking at the top piece, going around like this will be a clockwise direction. So, moving this face towards yourself will be an L move. And I will do a couple more. That is an L move. An L prime move, or a left inverse move, will be away from yourself, like this. The next 2 faces are a little more difficult, as you sometimes have to turn the cube to get a hold on where to move, but you'll get more comfortable with them and you'll be super fast in no time. This move is called a down move. It is using the bottom layer of the face, opposite to the up face. You can think about it just like the up, whereas when you flicked with your right hand, it did an up move, and when you flick with your left, it did a up inverse move. With the down face, when you flick with your right thumb on the bottom face, as you can see, you can imagine a clock on this bottom face, and when you flick with your right finger, it does a down move, represented by a capital D. To do a down inverse move, you use your left thumb and you flick away to the left side. As you can see, when you can't see the bottom, if you think about it as flicking the right side as a D and the left side as a down inverse, that might be a little more helpful for you. But if you'd like, you can use this notation using the clockwise cycle. So I will do a few D moves and a few D prime moves. D, D, D prime, D prime. The final move, and in my opinion, which might be the hardest move to learn, is the back face. Opposite to the front face, it sets on these 3 back pieces, or 9 whole pieces. The way you do a back move is by still remembering that your blue side is your front, or whichever side you have is your front, and looking at the opposite side. So as I hold my hand on the front, I look to the back, and I think about it as a clock. So it would be going this direction, so I know it needs to be going like this, so like this, when you look at the front. So if you use your right index finger, and you hold it at the bottom, and you flick up with your right index finger, that is a B move. And flicking up with your left index finger, that is a back inverse move. These are 2 simple tricks to do a back move without having to turn over the cube and think, this is clockwise, and you turn like this, and this is counterclockwise for a back inverse and turning like this. This move is called the M move. It involves moving the middle layer forward and backward towards yourself. The way you do an M move is by holding both sides like this, like you would do an R move or an L move together, and you can take one of your other fingers and put it in the back, or you can just do an R turn and an R prime. So that works. Doing a double R and an R prime, that also works. But an easier way is to take your index finger and to flick away from yourself. This would be an M prime, is flicking away from yourself. the M move works like an L move. So M prime, and this would be M. In notation, if you see an R followed by a 2, that does not mean that you necessarily move both right faces. What this means is that you take the right face and you move it 2 times in that direction. The same goes for any other moves. If you see U2, you would flick U2. And you can even do it just like a U prime, since doing 2 moves is the same way either direction. So you can pick and choose. If you see U2, you can do a double U flick with your right finger or with your left finger. It's important to note that you do not want to do a right flick and then a left flick, as that would just undo your previous move. Now, I would like to show you how you can practice these moves so that when you learn algorithms, it will be much faster and there will be way less practice time needed. A simple move to do is right, up, right inverse, up inverse. And then what you can do is opposite of that, which would be up, right, up inverse, right inverse. I recommend writing these moves down on a note card and holding them in front of your cube and just practicing them. You do not need to memorize these algorithms, but it's a really fun way to learn your first algorithm. And these move sets will show up in some 3x3 algorithms. So again, right, up, right inverse, up inverse, and then up, right, up inverse, right inverse. This is a fun way to practice the R and U moves. To practice the other moves, I recommend holding your fingers like this for the back moves and practicing back with your right and then back inverse with your left. So back, back inverse, back, back inverse. The same can be done with your right and left fingers for the down phase. So I think to myself, down, down inverse, down, down inverse. And you can even do 2 down moves or 2 down inverse moves. I hope you have enjoyed the first part of my How to Solve the Rubik's Cube series. I hope you stick around and expect more episodes in the future. Leave any questions in the comments and don't forget to subscribe.